Very good evening, everyone. Welcome from Sneak Ria Foundation. Nice to see you all. I'm Harshali Kharche, and I'm the Managing Director of Sneak Ria Foundation and the founder of Sneak Rehab. Sneak Rehab basically is from Nagpur. Next slide. We are based in Nagpur. Sneak is Special Needs Integration Center. Our motto here is to provide a conductive environment for children with special needs so as to facilitate their development, education, and help them to develop their potential to the fullest and enhance their independence and enable them to become a well-adaptive individual in society. Actually, for this motto, we are coming up with various projects in Nagpur, like recreational center, community support center, social rehabilitation and integration, homeschooling, vocational daycare, and finally the residential hub. We are trying to help children in every way under the one roof. Here, our motto is to educate the parent and develop their perspective towards the right kind of interventions and treatments. The various webinars and knowledgeable session to you through this initiation. Today, we are here for a very interesting topic and very important for the development of the child is like fundamental movement skill. So for that, we have Mrs. Prachi Puranik with us. She is a motor skill training coach. She is certified motor skill learning coach from Motor Skill Learning Academy, Switzerland. She has successfully completed motor activity training program organized by Special Olympics Bharat, active participation in the international course on child's active play and sports program, that is CAPS, and Brain Gym 101 certified coach. And most important for us is she is a certified Manas Mitra to help special parent for psychological help as a first aid. Now, I would like the here to opportunity to take this opportunity to announce that Ms. Prachi Puranik will be the Manas Mitra of Sneak Ria Foundation henceforth, and you can contact her for any emotional first aid. Like if you feel like stuck in some emotional thing and you just need immediate help, like if you want to vent out something, so then she can guide you. I mean, to the you can talk to her. She can guide you to the psychologist also. So this you can contact her. We will provide her contact number on our groups. So over to you, Prachi. You are most welcome on this session, and great to introduce you as a Manas Mitra of our Sneak Ria Foundation.
Thank you, Harshali. Thank you very much. That's a very warm welcome. And good evening, parents. I'm really happy to be associated with SNCC today. I'm really happy actually because me and Harshali know each other for a long time. And I mean, as parents, we have been connected. But yeah, as a professional, for the first time, I am actually taking a session for her. So this is the very good opportunity for me. So yeah, so basically we will see what are the fundamental movement skills first. So most of the pictures here are very self-explanatory, that the children that they do the activities like running, jumping, most of this rolling or skipping or any kind of activities that are there as a part of your early childhood development, they are basically the fundamental movement skills. Okay, so for children, these skills can differ. The way these skills are achieved, the milestones can differ from child to child. So to start with, we will see how the development of a child goes. Okay. So is the screen available, visible to everyone? Harshali, is it?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to start with, we will first see what are the different domains of human development. Okay. So when a child is born and the way he slowly grows into a child who is who is a kid first, or who is a teenager, then a kid, then a child, then a teenager, and then an adult. So there are four domains which are involved in the development of the child. So out of these four, that is affective, cognitive, motor, and physical development, see, all of them are basically interrelated. But physical and motor are more interconnected because physical development actually involves the growth and changes in the body and brain. Also, it involves the sensory system, the sensory system development, the motor skills, the health, and the overall fitness of the child. So, the motor skills and the physical development, these two are very, very connected. Okay. Now coming to the cognitive and the affective part. Cognitive skills are majorly the learning related skills. So cognitive involves the learning part of the child, the attention, the memory, the language development, the thinking, the reasoning skills, or the creativity part of it. So cognitive development is mainly related to anything that the child needs to learn any skill. Okay. And affective is basically the psychosocial development part. Okay, which actually involves emotions, the personality, the kind of relationship they form with other people, and most of the emotional part, you can say, is the affective development, which actually is more interrelated, but it starts much later in the life. As in, the emotions and personality are always there, but the expression starts later on, and the social part starts once the child starts interacting with the other people. Uh, though all these three domains look to be very discrete and different in function, but they are all interconnected. Like the physical and the motor, they always go hand in hand. Once, okay, let's move to the next slide, and then I will be able to explain it to you in a better way. Yeah. So if we look at this pyramid, the way the development goes, when the child is born, it is the first movements are basically the rudimentary movement phase, which is from 0 to 4 months, where the child cannot move much. He can be at one place, and overall, the overall motor activities are controlled, and they are subcortically controlled, in the sense your brain actually controls whatever activity you are doing in the initial phase. Then comes the rudimentary movement phase, which is from 0 to 2 years. So if we look at a typical development of a child, the way we look, the way it goes is the stability skills. That is, around 4 months, the child can actually hold his head. So it goes from head to toe. So the child will start gaining control of the head, the neck, and then the trunk areas. That is how the stability will go from 0 to 2 years. Then slowly the child can move little bit. Okay. So once around 6 months of age, he will start creeping and moving his hands and legs. Then he will start crawling. So which is the locomotive skills. Then he will start crawling, and slowly by around 1 year of age, the child will start walking. These milestones actually can differ from child to child. There is no definite time when the child will achieve them, but yeah, around 1 to 1.25 years of age, every child will achieve these milestones or the skills. Then comes the manipulative skills, where around 1.5 to 2 years of age, the child can reach for things. Actually, initially, when the child is born also, you can actually, if you give something to the child, the grip is not that, the grip is not that proper, or the grip is not that fixed. But once the child grows, if you see, he will start reaching for things, he will start grabbing, he will hold it, he will release it. So most of these skills, which are the manipulative skills, they will start developing once the child is 1 to around 2 years of age. And in the same time, the child will actually learn how to sit and stand and walk and run independently. So this is the sequence that the rudimentary movement actually happens in a typical child. And it is the same, physiologically the same in every child. Okay. Now comes the fundamental movement phase, which is the evolution of the various motor skills, which is from 2 to around 7 years of age, which is the most important phase where you have to actually concentrate on developing various motor skills for the child, which are like running, kicking, throwing, catching. And most of these skills actually are developed in a fun way when the child goes to school. Things like running or kicking or throwing, catching, most of these skills are actually developed. Sometime when we play with the child at home or at school, the child will learn it. Okay. And the last phase is the sport related movement phase. Okay. Which is 7 or around 8 years of age and later on, where the child has good motor skills and has good body awareness. He has good control over his body position and can actually involve in any sport specific sport. Then the actual sport related movement phase will start. So these are the basic 4 phases where your what do you say, your skill based progression will happen. Okay. So the other picture also here tells you the same thing, right from the reflexive period where the child is born to a skillful period where the child is now has the required skills for a specific sport. So till around 10 years of the journey of the child, it is always good to expose the child to various sports, to various activities, to different skills, so that then the child can choose where or which sport he want to develop. But these basic skills form the foundation. So as you all know that without a strong foundation, the building can't stand. So all these skills are the basic foundation of any sports. If we want our children to play or be active in life, these are the fundamental skills. So as I said, the same thing, they are the building blocks for overall development of physical literacy, because unless the child is physically active, then he won't be able to participate in any kind of sports in future. Also, it is important for a to become competent in any sporting activities. It improves self-esteem, confidence, and socialization skills. See, all these are the advantages of fundamental movement skills, which we will come back again after we finish the presentation in a different way. So, but what I want to emphasize here is why these skills are important. Mainly because physically active and involving in a sport improves all other things or all the other weak areas of the child. Like, for example, our children sometimes have difficulties in socialization, difficulties in other areas, like, for example, academic areas. So, once we have improvement in all these skills, what I have seen is these skills also improve the other weak areas or the other deficiencies, if we can call, like reading and writing. Because FMS is similar to like the way we learn alphabets and phonics, which are the basic abilities if you have to do reading. So these are the basic things if we have to start any sports. So these are the building blocks. And fundamental movement skills in a way also improves the other areas like reading, writing, developing a positive attitude towards physical activity, because then the child will be motivated to do more and more physical sports. And in future, if the child is exposed to these activities early on in his life, it is very what do you say, it is very easy to turn them to a sport in future. Vice versa, if they don't do any physical activities, they might become inactive or unhealthy choices during their future time. So it is very important that the child is exposed to different skills at a very early age. So now we will see what are the different fundamental movement skills. There are 3 types of movement skills. Stability skills, which is which is the ability to sense a shift in the body or standing at one place and doing the various activities. Now we will also see what are the different skills, but stability is being stable with all your body awareness, with a good posture in one position at one place. That is called a stability. Locomotor skills is from one place to another. So locomotor skills is consist of body movements from one point to another, which is like jumping or running or hopping or skipping, any kind of skills which involves going from one point to another. So these skills also involve stability skills. So unless you have a good stability skills, you should not move to locomotor. Okay. And the third skill, that is the object manipulation skills, that can happen only when the first two skills are mastered. Then only you can go to object manipulation, which is more of activities which involves a force. Either force is given in terms of throwing or received in terms of catching. So most of these throwing, catching, or other activities which involves striking, for example, which involves a force, are part of the object manipulation skills. Okay, so the picture that I show here, sorry, in what way the progression goes. So initially we work on the stability skills. Once they are mastered, we work on the locomotor, that is from one point to another. And once these two skills are mastered, then we go to manipulation, which is more of where it is a coordinated movement. Okay, you have to balance everything. You have to make sure that you have a good posture, you have a good movement, you have a good coordination of the muscles, and you can do the job. Okay, so now I will show you what are the different skills. Okay, yeah, so the stability skills come first, which are the basic skills that you do at one place. That is balancing, bending, curling, turning, and all these activities which you can do at one place is part of the stability skills. Next comes the locomotor skills, which is from one place to another, something like walking, running, jumping, skipping, sliding, which is which are more of skills which are required to go from one place to another. Okay, and then comes the manipulative skills, which is, as I said, more of control oriented skills like catching, throwing, dribbling, striking, kicking. So all these skills, I have listed around 21 skills here because we have a program for 21 days, 21 working days, which is almost a month, I should say, to work on all these skills. One day, one skill. That is how we actually take it. Okay. So these are the skills which are very, very important, and you have to develop these skills before you actually move on to any specific sport. So how we do it, I will show you. So these are some of the activities that shows how these skills are to be improved. Like balancing is actually balancing on one foot with both your hands spread. Catching and throwing actually involves a lot of muscle movements, control of the ball, hold the ball, and throw the ball with a particular pressure. So catching, throwing, hopping on one leg is also another thing which actually involves a lot of body balance. So unless you are stable in one particular position and you are not able to carry that body stability, you cannot do hopping. So hopping again involves activities which is more important if you have a good body balance. I will be showing some videos also to actually how to tell you how these skills are to be developed in a real setting. And kicking. Yeah, so kicking is also another skill that is very important. For example, for football, where you should know with how much pressure, in what position the ball has to be kicked, and how much force has to be applied. It should not be too much of a force or it should not be too little force that the ball doesn't move. So kicking is again kicking, catching, throwing. All these are coordinated activities which involves a little bit of control. Okay. Now I will show you some of the activities that we did for my son, and I will show you how these activities we have carried out at in a home setup.
No.
One second, I will start from the beginning. What we have done is we have arranged 4 discs on one side of the game, and 4 discs are arranged on the other side of the game, and 4 balls are arranged on the other side discs. And what we have done is these 4 discs, the color coding and the color sequence is the same on both the sides. Okay, and there are 4 balls kept on the other side of the on 4 discs. So what my son is supposed to do is run there, get a ball, come back and keep it on the disc number 1. Again go to disc number 2, get the ball, come back and keep it on disc number 2. So this is the coordinated activity which also involves running. So we have turned that running activity into a kind of a game which they can play, so that the child also gets a feel of feel of this skill or the activity, and it also improves the running skill. Okay.
No. इधर से पहला वाला यार चलो भागो.
Prachi, we can't see a video.
So this way he is pick up yellow.
चलो आजा.
Prachi, we cannot see the video. Hello, Prachi. We cannot see the video.
Okay. One second. What I will do is I will put it on the.
No.
Is it visible now?
No, actually, I can see your screen.
One second. Zach, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Are you able to see the video?
No, it's not playing.
No, I am playing from here.
No.
Yes, now we can see.
पहला वाला.
Is it visible now?
Yes. Yes, it's visible.
Go फिर से.
So we turned this actually running.
चलो आजा.
We turned this activity into a kind of running and ball activity, so that it is more of a motivation also for running. So we
भागो रुद्रा, टाइम पास नहीं करना, इसके बाद चलो तुम जल्दी बाहर रखो, चलो।
yeah, Harshali.
हाँ प्राची.
So actually, I think these videos are not playing here, from here. What I will do is I will show what are all the videos, and then I will show you I will show them one by one. So we have a
Yes,
video.
yes.
Yeah. So we have a video on jumping where you can jump. We have a ladder on which you can do jumping. So I will show you how jumping we can do in a coordinated activity. Jumping over hurdles, then frog jumps, how we do frog jumps from one place to another, how hopping we have converted into a kind of a game, like either hopping from one point to another and coming back. Then zigzag running, there are various various variations of running, that is zigzag running or running on a straight line. Then circuit training, which is kind of dribbling, which is kind of dribbling, but you have to dribbling in a zigzag manner. And in-out kind of games, which are the games which you can play with hula hoop. So I actually play a lot of games with hula hoop, and most of the activities that I do has hula hoop as a very important part of the one of the things that we use. So I will show you all the videos one by one so that you will come to know what are the different skills and how we can actually improve those skills through the activities. Yeah. Harsha, is it visible?
No, no, it's not visible, Prachi.
Now is it visible?
No. Somebody saying in toolbar you see option to open video. Hmm.
Actually, now is it visible?
No. Can...
Sorry, what was?
Ma'am, try to play in VLC Media Player again, if you have.
No, I don't have VLC. Actually, I'm just thinking how I was able to play them for the first time.
Yeah, now we can see.
Yeah?
Yeah, game circuit training.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it visible, Harshali?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Jumping and yeah.
Yeah. Just 1 second. I will. I will stop the screen share. Yeah, just 1 second. I'll be back here.
Sorry for this. Just she got disconnected. Yeah, she got disconnected. She'll be connecting soon. Just please wait.
Is it visible, Harshali?
Yes, yes. We can see zigzag running.
Yeah. One second.
Yeah, it's frog
Visible?
jumping. Yes, we can see frog jumping. Yes, jumping, zigzag running, and now frog jumping. Yes.
चलो बैठो से
Actually, frog jump is quite a difficult activity. We don't know, but yeah, it is quite this I think we have already seen, that is jumping over the hurdles. In, out, in, out, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, out. Okay. Hello. Yeah, so were you able to see all the videos?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. So as I said, most of these skills, that is running, jumping, or hopping, or any kind of dribbling, which we turn it into a circuit training, we actually make it into a kind of activity so that the child also can do it in a more meaningful way, in a more what do you say, fun way, and it will be more accomplishment for the child. So that once you are done a kind of task, the child will be able to have that feel ki, okay, I have completed this, and also will have that skill. For example, as I said, hopping or jumping, we can't do it standalone, or we can't expect the child to develop these skills standalone. We have to integrate it into a kind of activity so that the child will also enjoy and learn it at the same time. And these in out kind of games, I think that is a kind of fun game, as well as it also involves attention. I mean, if I don't if I'm not attentive to the instruction that is being given either in or out, I won't be able to what do you say, do the jump. If I'm asked to jump in, I should jump in, or out, or I should stay in and out depending on the instruction that is given. So similarly, as I said, I use a lot of these hoopla games for other activities like jumping front, jumping back, jumping left, jumping right. So we have different types of jumps in case of a hoopla. I mean, this is the way we actually use jumping as a skill and as a game both. So we have jumping sideways, jumping laterally, that is your left hand and right hand, jumping forward, jumping backward. Similarly, hopping also we do the same. Hopping also we form it in the form of a game. Running also we do it in the form of these activities, and we also do a mix and match of everything. For example, the game that I showed, of the 4 balls, what we can do is, you can have one for the first round, we can have running as the activity, and ask the child to run from one place to another and get the ball back and keep it at one place. In the second round, we can ask the child to jump from one place to another and get the ball back. In the third round, we can ask the child to either do a hopping or a slipping or a leaping kind of activity to do from one place to another. So in these activities, we do a combination of everything. Like even in hopping, you go on, say, right foot from one place to another, and on your way back you can come on the left foot. So that is how we actually combine these games, combine these skills into kind of games, so that the child can also enjoy it. Yeah. So moving ahead, we also, what we do is, we also do these various animal poses. Like for example, we do a cat pose, which is also active, which is also improves a skill of bending, or a dog pose, which also improves the skill of bending. or a flamingo pose, which is more of a balancing skill, or a giraffe pose, or a turtle pose, which is more of a twisting and turning activity, or a snake pose, which is more of a stretching and rise activity. The stretching also you call it as Bhujangasana in yoga. So some of these animal poses are also part of yoga exercises, like butterfly. You call it you also have a yoga asana for butterfly, or for dog pose also you have the mountain pose, as they call it in yogasan. So most of these poses can also be integrated in the form of a asana. And if you do it in the form of a animal pose, like a cow pose or a dog pose, we can ask the child to mew in case of a cat, or like for example, if it's a elephant pose, we can ask the child to show their hand movements uh, in the way that an elephant moves, and that also involves a skill that is called as stretching. So most of these animal poses that we have involves some or the other skill that we can develop. Now, some of the other games or activities that we can do is balloon tennis, or balloon dodging, as we call it. This this is most favorite game of most of the kids for a birthday party, I am sure. Balloon dodging also involves a lot of coordination movements, striking activities, then hand-eye coordination, and also it improves a lot of body awareness in the way I have to do the striking. Okay, so the way I should move my hand, all these skills are improved if you play these kind of balloon dodging, or even balloon tennis kind of games. Then sack races, use your old pillow slips. For example, I also make bean bags using grains at home. Like I have bean bags of rice or dal or any other bean bags, and you can use it in the balances. Like for example, I'm walking with a small bean bag on my hand, or on my shoulder, or on my head, and I'm walking. So that also improves the posture. Or while walking or jumping, I have a bean bag on my hand, which I'm able to balance even if I'm jumping. So this is jumping as well as balancing, and also most of these bean bags also give little bit of sensory experience. So you can have bean bags lined up on the floor and ask the child to walk on the bean bags one after the other. Or we can have small circular based, circular shaped surfaces. For example, we can have, like I used the floor mats that we have at home. Okay, because those are the easiest one to get, and you don't have to buy anything. You can use floor mats, or you can use, if you have sandpapers, you can have small sandpaper. Rudra, please. You can have small sandpaper circles cut into circles cut and lined up on the floor. Or you can have in a tray, you can have rice or ragi placed, and you can have on a walk, or on a what do you say, if you are covering say 4 or 5 steps of balancing, you can also give them a exposure of 4 or 5 different materials also, or textures also. So it also combines the act of walking as well as balancing, and with along with a texture. Yeah. Then musical chairs. Musical chairs are very good. I think most of the children like musical chairs, but what is more important is it improves the skill of running. So running and coordination, the way we have to run, the way we have to make sure that you are listening to the music. Yeah. So as soon as the music stops, you have to sit on the chair. This is the activity that most of the children like. But what is important is, there is a lot of coordination, there is a lot of skill also in these activities. Similarly, in running, what we can do is have a sequence. For example, first walking, then running, and in between, if I ask the child to sit down, he has to sit down. So the child also has to listen to the instruction and follow accordingly. If I'm asked to walk, he has to walk. As soon as I switch over to run, he has to run. And when I say sit, he has to sit down at one place. So there is a lot of instruction or a compliance also is involved when we are doing these running activities. There is a lot of attention is required, a lot of attention improves, and the child is able to understand the instructions. Now, Simon Says kind of games are the games that we play mostly at the end of these sessions, and which actually involve Simon Says uh, clap your hands, or Simon Says put your hands on the shoulders, or put your hands on the head. So these are basically imitation skills that we improve with that with these activities. Broom hockey or some similar games we play with the kind with pocha that we have at home, or a broom also, or a stick, or anything that you can move around. Okay, so these activities will also improve the grip, will also improve the coordination, and will also improve the twisting and turning kind of skills. Okay, so most of the skills that I actually do as a part of these activities, most of the things that I use are the household things that we normally have at home. For example, if you don't have cones or anything, I use the old bottles that we have. For example, water bottles or any kind of plastic bottles that we have, which either you can fill it up with sand or stones or anything. Just that they should be stable. You can fill in anything, okay, even water. So that's okay. You can use them as cones. For discs, you can use paper discs. That's okay. It's not necessary that you should have plastic discs. You can have different colored papers cut into circular shapes, and you can use them. Or instead of cones, you can also use the bowling pins that normally children have. That also we can use even for a zigzag running. Okay, or the bowling pins also can be used for bending kind of activities, where you have to bend and throw the ball. Then we also use those tower kind of games that we normally use, the tower which we build for eye hand coordination and throwing games. So most of the games that I use in my sessions, most of the uh, props or things that I use are easily available at home, and I show you how to make things. Like, for example, if you don't have a ball, you can use your old socks or handkerchiefs to make balls, and you can use paper balls. So anything that you don't have, you don't have to buy it. You can reuse whatever is available at home, and make that game in a more fun way. So this is just a glimpse of what you can do at home. Okay, so we do it more in a fun way, so that it is more motivating and more interesting for the child. Yeah, so now, as I said, coming back to what we started with, is now what actually physical literacy does. Physical literacy, first, it improves the physical fitness of the child, and along with him, I think the whole family is also involved. So yeah, it does help everyone. It improves the physical health, it improves the overall lifestyle of the child, and slowly the child will become receptive to other people. He will start interacting with other people. So the social skills will also improve. Sorry. Then the psychological wellness, that I said, the psychological awareness, that is the emotion part, the expression part, the kind of understanding and interpersonal relationships, when I said, those things will also slowly start improving. Then the mental health of the child, the overall way the child can interact with his family and as well as other people, will improve. Then the cognitive skills, as I said, the learning, the attention, and all other factors which are involved with learning as a side properties, that is the critical thinking or attention or all concentration, focus, those skills will also improve. And the end product is educational success. And this I have seen with my son. So I can definitely tell you that when we started our journey, my son had a lot of issues, but when we started on these activities, slowly things will slowly things improved. It is not going to happen in a day, but yeah, slowly his physical ability improved, his overall generalization, his social skills, his language, his communication, everything started improving slowly. Maybe I will also show you by the end of the what do you say, end of the session, the actual learning pyramid. Okay, so 1 second. Okay, maybe I will show it later on. So as I said, the main benefits of being physically active or physical literacy is increased agility, strength, and endurance. I think everybody knows this. This is a very important and most common benefit of being active and involving in any sports activity. Play and physical activities results in generating happy hormones by the brain. So this is very important for the child and also for the family. Yeah, because play is very important part of the development of every child, and I believe that being happy is is most important if, when you are doing any activity, because that actually improves the uh, which actually boosts the child's morale, the motivation, and then when the child is happy, whatever you do with the child benefits him the most. Then it also improves the sensory balance of the child. As I said, the overall the way that the child can carry himself and is able to maintain his sensory what do you say uh, most of his sensory balances. For example, if a child has some auditory problem or has some problem with his tactile system, then slowly you will see that the child will actually able to what do you say, accept things when you start with these sports skills. For example, my child was never was not ready to touch anything that is sticky, for example, or a food which is mushy in texture, like aloo paratha or idli or shira or anything which has a soft texture. But now he can eat it because over a period of time, now his tactile system is now used to eat these foods, and slowly now he's actually showing interest in having new foods like pizza or anything that he likes now. But earlier he never used to eat anything new, or he was not receptive to any new foods. But slowly this development has happened in the last 3 to 4 years. So similarly, improvement in instruction compliance, because then the child will become more receptive to get instructions from people apart from mother or the family members. He will also follow instruction from the coach, from other people that he is working with. Okay, and in turn it improves academic skills, as I said, reading, writing, which are important skills for any child. Total, I will say the main highlights are improvement in social behavior, communication, generalization, self-esteem of the child, confidence, and social skills. So totally, I will say these are the most important highlights of being active and being involved in any kind of physically active child. And one thing I can vouch for this, because I've seen this journey with my son, and I definitely can tell you that it happens, though you might have to be patient and not everything will happen at once. But yeah, slowly everything will start falling in place. So how the parents also can be involved in physical literacy or active play right from childhood is, if the parent actually encourages the child when he is smaller through a small movements, and then through play skills and keeping it fun. As I said, make it more fun for the child. That is what is very important. The child should be happy while doing the activities. That is very important. Then 5 to 8 years is the age when you focus more on these fundamental movement skills and try to do it more in a fun and active way. And then 8 years plus, you can engage the child in more complex skills when the child is actually ready for any specific sport. So more important is if you have a parent also involved in this, it is more engagement and bonding. And you can also involve the full family, as I said, in these kind of activities at home. So this is the long-term picture. If you start physical literacy early on, then uh, by the age that the child is adult, he will be physically active, and he will have all the mental capability to be fit and active for the rest of his life. Now, Special Olympics is actually an organization which works with children with special needs, and they have a program called as Young Athletes. So, Young Athletes is a sports and play program for children with and without intellectual disabilities for the age 2 to 7 years of age, and they actually foster or encourage inclusion through play and sports, so that every child should actually get an opportunity to play and be part of a group, so that he can also contribute equally and enjoy the sport. Okay. Now the way I am actually conducting these sessions, they are similar to what we have as a part of Young Athletes program. Currently we have only 21 days of this training program. Whatever things or equipments those are required for your sessions, I will tell you beforehand for every day, and what are the skills that will be taken on that day also will be discussed. Now it will be 30 minutes of activity and 15 minutes of fun time, I will say. So there will be a warm up with a warm up song with the basic hand movements and leg movements. Then 15 minutes of some skill based exercises that I tell you what to do. Then we will have a fun activity which will actually improve that particular skill. And then we have 10 minutes of imitation skills, or a kind of rhymes, or follow the leader kind of games, or any kind of theme based games. Like for example, we will have color based games. We will ask the child to tell something that is red in color or green in color, or something starting with a particular alphabet. We will ask the child to identify the alphabet, or show face mask and show which animal it is. Or we have a kind of uh, rhyme. For example, if you have old McDonald's kind of rhyme, then I also have finger puppets which we use. Okay, so it's kind of an interactive. The last 10-15 minutes is a kind of interactive where the child is also equally involved, and they also like it because then by the time they are tired also, and so that also improves the focus and attention, so they are more receptive to all these activities and they really enjoy it. So the last 10 to 15 minutes maximum is the time when the child is actually relaxing and can focus on these and be part of these fun and imitation activities. And we also have dance and movement sometimes, so that it becomes much more relaxing for the child at the end of the session, because most of our children also like movement. So I take one thing per day. So it can be one imitation or one rhyme or a kind of game based activity. Yeah. So I would like to share some of the accolades of my son here. Some of you might have known this already, but we started this journey when he was around 6 years old, and now he's 9.25 years old, and he has won 2 gold medals in national level swimming by Special Olympics in 2018. I have also conducted one webinar which actually shares my journey. So I will put up a link in the comment section uh, so that you can also see that webinar if anybody is interested. And he was felicitated at Bal Kalyan Sanstha in Pune. He also won silver medal in swimming at state level, and that was in Amravati. That was in Hanuman Ram Prasarak Mandal Amravati, and also swimming competition. Also he won a medal, and recently also he won a cooking competition, and he won a third prize in his category. He was the youngest in his own group. So overall, I will say I can see a total change or a total shift in the direction of the development. So these are some of the things that we did also in the lockdown period. Like he was more active in the house. He was more receptive to the instructions. We did a lot of activities in the lockdown period with him, and now he is actually able to engage himself in a more meaningful way also, with puzzles and activities and word games. So he is able to actually interact with most of us, and is now able to do things in a more meaningful and a leisure way than more in an instructional way. He is now able to do things on his own. So this is uh, these are totally his what do you say, his skills and his achievements. Now, as I said, some of my accolades, I think Harshali has already told, but just to reiterate, I've completed this motor skills training program in 2018, and also got a certified by the motor activity training program, which is mainly for the children with multiple disabilities and very little what do you say, very little mobility. So this was conducted by Special Olympics. Then I'm also a brain gym certified instructor, so I can use brain gym exercises in my routines, or in my fitness sorry, exercises. I use brain gym exercises also. And as Harshali said, I am also a certified Manas Mitra. Manas Mitra is basically a person who can help you as an emotional first aid, I will say. So if any of you are feeling any I mean, if you have any psychological problems which you want to vent out to someone, or you feel that you should contact someone, you can contact me and tell. If whatever little help I can do, I will definitely do. And if it really needs a professional help, of course I will suggest you to go to a professional. But I am certified, and also I'm pursuing a kind of internship with them, where we are now going to special schools. We are also kind of interacting with special school teachers and special school parents also, is the next step, where we'll also be telling the special schools parents how to actually they can interact with the child. Yeah. And last but not the least, I'm also pursuing my B.Ed in special education. So that is something which I think was very important if I have to do as a formal trainer. Yeah. So this is my journey, and these are my contacts. If any of you have any questions, I'm now open to the questions.
Thank you, Prachi. That's so great to know. I mean, congratulations for Rudra's achievements. A lot of things he has achieved. We are so happy to see those achievements. And any questions? Okay, I will take some questions from the chat box. Circuit training, how to guide kid and keep legs above hurdle, and kid can jumps but not over the hurdle. Neetu is asking the question.
Yeah, actually, once the child is able to do the jumping as a skill, okay. Now, first we when we saw jumping as a skill, when we saw the ladder activity, that was only jumping on the ground. Okay, so jumping as a skill, when you have to develop that is where you start jumping on the ground from one place to another. Then the next step is jumping from, say, one place over the hurdle to another place. Now jumping is a coordinated activity, so you have to adjust both your hands, and both your legs should be joined together, so that you are able to jump over that hurdle. So once the basic jumping skill is developed, then only the child will be able to jump over the hurdle. So and mainly these are all actually higher level. Circuit training is actually part of a total circuit, where you have 3 to 4 activities lined up in a sequence. For example, I have a jumping activity in a hula hoop, where I have to jump at one place for, say, 10 counts. I have a ladder which is jumping for around 6 to 7 counts. Then I have hurdles, which is jumping across the hurdles in a way, in from one place to another. And a last this thing, where I have to jump at sorry, do a frog jump. So these are 4 activities which we can combine in the form of a circuit. So what I showed you was just one part of the circuit, and we can actually combine. But once the child is through with the simple skills, then only they can go for the higher skills.
Yes, yes. Next question is from how to make child jump or do any activity. I think there is a question on compliance.
Yes, actually, you have to start with simple activities. As I said, balancing skills are the first one to start with. So first, the child has to walk, has to do a simple balancing, simple stretching, twisting, turning, curling, all these activities which you have to do at one place. Once the child is through that, then the next step is going to the jumping. See, because jumping is a very important skill, but that also involved other skills. As I said, balancing and is able to it's a coordinated movement. So you have to go from one place to another in a coordinated fashion. So you have to first master the initial skills. What I will do is I'm also planning to give you a kind of videos or I'm planning to upload it so that we can have some skills or some video for every skill as to how we can actually improve these skills and go in a sequence slowly, and we have to be consistent. That is very important. So once you do the things in the sequence, I think the child will be able to do it. And the more you integrate that in the form of a game, as I said, make it as a fun game, the child will be able to do it. So either you can do say a kangaroo jump or a rabbit jump or a frog jump or anything you can do. Then the child will be able to say. Don't make it as a exercise. Initially make it fun, then make it as a part of exercise. Yeah. Does
Yes,
it answer your question?
great, great. Next question is from Banishri Das. How to teach swimming without trainer? I mean, is it possible?
Uh, Actually, even I had hired a trainer for my son. So one thing I will say is the instructions should be understood by the child. That is very important, and the compliance that is important. The child should be able to carry out the instructions and also should be if the child has fear of water or anything, I suggest first you start working on the uh, just the what do you say the uh, mm, his comfort level with water, and then slowly teach swimming, because swimming is a advanced level activity. So initially the muscle tone or the holding grip or the coordination should be good, then maybe you can start. Swimming is a overall very good exercise, that I can definitely tell you.
Yeah. Next,
Now,
on similar line, like how can we teach cycling?
cycling. Actually, the way we do cycling is initially, I think we started with the balancers. Okay, so with both the balancers we start, and then what is more important is gaining the confidence. The child should be able to do pedaling with both the pedals and should be able to apply the required pressure. That is what is important, because if the child is not able to apply pressure, then that is the first step. So the child should be able to manage with both the balancers and should be able to ride the bicycle initially with balancers. Okay, then slowly you can remove one balancer, but that is when the child is confident of driving the bicycle independently. Then slowly we can remove the second balancer, but that this journey might take anywhere between 3 to 6 months minimum, and the age maturity of the child is also important. Around 6 to 7 years of age, where actually my son also started. So if normal children are able to learn it say around 5 or 6 years of age, maybe it takes little bit longer for us, but yeah, I mean, our children also can actually learn. It takes time, but it's not difficult. Initially, work more on the proprioceptive skills of pedaling and cycling at home.
Okay, if somebody is asking that for that 21 days program, what is the age group of the child?
Currently, I think we are doing more than 5+, because mainly the reason also being because it's an online program, and the child should be able to cooperate, because Otherwise, it is very difficult because some children also have difficulties in concentrating in online sessions. So, and secondly, the parent also has to be there. Otherwise, it is very difficult. We can't expect our children because in online you don't get that feeling of being connected. So the parent also has to be there to model the action or to for the child to understand what I am asking them to do. So the parent also has to be involved. And as I said, modeling is the best way that we can actually teach our children, be it any skill, be it imitation or be it physical skill. I think if the parent also is equally involved, equally connected with the child, they will learn faster.
Yeah, 5 to what age we can?
Currently, I think 5 to 8 or 9 years of age we are doing, because after that the children might not like things like rhymes or. But we do have a older child also, because she doesn't have a lot of skills because she's a CP child. But yeah, you can actually have children from 5 to around say 12 years of age. Not a, and one thing I would like to tell is age is not a criteria. The capability can be different for different child. A 3-year child also, a normal child of 3 years also might have the capability which a 5-year-old child with special needs might not have. So it is all depend on the ability of the child. So you have to work on which skill my child is not able to do and work on that skill, I will say. So that's why we have a skill-based program. Okay, if this skill is not happening, because most of these skills are interdependent, so we work in a sequential way. We work in a stability skills, then the locomotor skills, and then the manipulation skills. So slowly, and I think we will see the difference by the end of 21 days. It is a good good fitness.
On another question is from Aruna. On a day-to-day basis, how should these physical activities be planned? What about academics and sensory integration? Basically, I think they wanted to know how much time we should, daily devote for the skills. On day-to-day basis, it's difficult to organize all the things. So how much time is enough for all these activities?
Actually, if you're doing it at home, you can also do around say 10 to 15 minutes activities before any academic session. If you are planning, for example, you can say either you can do jumping or you can do running, maybe outside, or you can do any kind of physical activity which is around 10 to 15 minutes, because main is also these activities improve our brain hormones. So that is very important, that the hormones like adrenaline or all these things should improve, so that the child becomes more motivated and more ready. Rather, the attention and focus improves. So even a 10-minute walk or a 10 minutes of jumping or running activity will actually improve the attention and focus. Or once the child is ready, you can even have a meditation of 10 minutes before you start any reading kind of activity. So what is more advised is you do a brain gym. There is exercise called as pace that we do at the beginning. So pace is something which actually calms your overall sensory system, and it actually sets you into a kind of attention mode. So we do pace, and then we start with any of the reading or writing activities. And there are specific exercises to improve specific skills. So that is how actually we can plan it. One physical activity and then academics, or you can intersperse activities depending on the comfort of the child.
Yeah, thanks. I think one parent, Priya, want to ask a question. Priya, please unmute yourself and you can ask. We have many questions lined up. Okay, I think she's not there. We can take another question till that time. What is narrow walking and what way it helps a child on spectrum?
Is it narrow walking or barrow walking or wheelbarrow? I don't know.
Wheelbarrow. I know. Aisha must have that answer.
Yeah, Aisha can actually. Is it balancing activity or what kind of activity is it? Maybe if she can tell more about it.
Okay. My son is scared of swimming. Yeah, we have just taken this. I think I'm just searching for some relevant. How to do leg sliding in skates. Kid not lifting leg while skating.
See, actually, skating is a what do you say, is a little bit tricky activity, because initially the child will actually be scared to even slide down. Okay, so what I will suggest is initially just try sliding at home with, say, doormats. Okay, you have two doormats lined up, and try to do kind of just moving around with two doormats which can slide. Okay, not too much slippery, and then just ask the child to move from one mat to another and just move across the room. If possible, I will send a video as to how we can do it. Or what we can do is stand on a floor mat, try to do some twisting and turning activities and go from one point to another. So the child will know that, okay, now I can actually move from one place to another, and can actually lift the leg in between. Okay, so I would suggest going from one leg to another leg and then go from second leg to other leg will actually improve this. But I don't know how to do it in a proper skating thing. I can help you to understand if the child is not able to lift the leg, how he can do it in a home environment, how she can actually make him comfortable. But maybe a coach can help them better.
Okay, one more parent want to ask. Okay, no, it's not there. If child is moderate autistic and non-verbal, doesn't follow commands, how we start these activities from very starting? Yeah.
Okay, he is not able to follow any commands. See,
Hmm.
what I would say is initially start with modeling, because or physical prompts. Start with physical prompts, complete physical prompts for the child. Even in you can have videos to actually see. Most of our children, or rather some of our children, are visual learners. So put a visual video so that the child can understand what he or she needs to do. So even if he is not able to understand, he can at least see the video and get it. Second is getting actually physically done with the child, either physically or with a modeling. So depending on the comfort of the child, you can actually get it done through the child, or you can show it how to do it. Yeah, and then slowly make him understand as to how to do it with instruction. For example, if it involves jumping, you can actually jump, or you can show what to do, or you can show a video as to what needs to be done, so that the child will know that this is the thing. So even if one thing, yeah, sensory difficulties can be there, because some children are scared to jump. There is always a fear of either imbalance or fear of jumping, so the child might not be very comfortable. So start with hand holding and jumping, so that the child knows that, okay, even if I jump, I'm not going to fall. So that fear is the fear factor you have to initially what do you say, cross, so that the child will know, okay, now I can do jumping with my parent, then slowly jumping alone, either jumping on one leg and then jumping on another leg if not able to do it in a coordinated fashion. So get any activity that you are planning to do it slowly in a stepwise manner, because it is difficult for them to actually do it end to end. So split it in smaller steps, like as I said, either doing a physical prompt or hand holding, modeling, and then doing it like, for example, jumping on one leg, jumping on another leg. Slowly try to do it with the child, and then over a period of time, I think the child will be able to do, and give a lot of visual stimulation also, because visuals work very good with our children. Mainly if it's a non-verbal child or this thing, but yeah. Yeah, as Brian said, role modeling is the best way. Very, very true, actually.
Yeah. Hey, where do we get those videos? Parents are asking. You are talking about various videos. Where they accessible on where? I mean, how will they able to see somewhere? Or you will upload?
I will either upload videos, or I will give links to videos which are there as to how you can actually do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can share in the groups then. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I think Brian Rodriguez, I would like, I'll ask him to add something here because he has a very good experience in this.
Brian himself is a role model, actually.
Yeah, he's a role model.
Yes.
Sir, you can you guide us, guide parents on this? I mean, this is the right kind of topic you can talk about. Rodriguez, sir.
Harshali, do you want to spotlight him so that maybe everybody can see him also? Brian?
Is he here? But I cannot. I think.
Yes, ma'am. In fact, I was not intending to speak because Prachi ma'am is doing very well. The way she is conducting the session, like, trying to explain to the new parents, or like, parents who are just detected and who needed to show the right path, so that mostly what parents feel, like, that kids under the spectrum, they cannot do much of things, but then that is not what it is. Persons like Prachi have shown the path, as to how we can move forward, and not to look at just the tag that we are giving our kids, like, about disability. There are a lot of things, like, beyond disability that we can go for, and nothing is impossible. See, right from day one, if the parents, have the acceptance and they move it together as a family together, everything is possible, like some parent was mentioning a while ago about a child being non-verbal. So if we role model, and a child sees what the parents are doing, you don't even need to tell the child or a child to speak anything. If you jump together with the child will automatically understand the command. And that is how, once you build up that kind of connect with the child, automatically the child is going to pick up, and there will be a lot of interest in the child. See, for example, if you're trying to teach a child, come sit on a desk, I will teach you something. None of our children, especially in lockdown, none of our children will want to do that. Rather than that, if we, while doing our daily activities, get the child involved to do that, then probably, like, the child will be more interested to do the activities, and it will be like, as to the interest generated is more, the connection is much more, and due to which the feedback given by the child is much, much more than what you would have done by, like, saying that come A for apple or B for ball kind of a thing, like, if you show and make them play with vegetables and these things, or like how Prachi ma'am said, use doormats. So all these things are very basic things, but then when you go in depth, it makes a lot of difference to bringing the confidence in the child. So this is what, by my sort of experience with, as I've got two kids on the spectrum, age 11 and 13, and we are very pretty happy because the main thing comes as acceptance as a family. If you do things, then nothing is, say, impossible, everything will be good ahead, and there will be certain hiccups. That's all, ma'am, I'd like to add in.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I mean, always it's a great experience. You're sharing your experience. It's always going to help our parents. Yeah, Prachi. I think there are now individual questions. We can. Uh, we are. We have taken all the rational questions. So I think we can stop here. But again, I would like to announce one more time who have joined late, that my friend Prachi is going to be Manas Mitra for Snikriya Foundation. You can talk to her if anything. I mean, emotional first aid, as she called it. So anything, and we'll share her number and a time slot she will give us, that you can call her and talk to her. If you need any professional help after that, she can guide you that way. I mean, till now, we have wonderful friends, but I was not knowing so much information. I mean, today I got from Prachi. It's a wonderful session, Prachi. And thank you so much
Sure.
for
Thank you.
sharing this with us. And we will introduce the classes also, I think, this 21 days. And if anybody is interested, please contact us. We will organize these classes. I mean, and we'll let you know the schedule of those. So thank you so much, parents, for attending this. Thank you so much, Prachi.
Thank you, Harshali. Yeah.
I hope, yeah, everybody's saying a good session, great information. Okay, great.
Yeah, I would again reiterate what Brian said, is just that the family is the core of everything. So what we want our children to learn, we have to model it. We have to work as a family, and a family centric approach works the best. So this is what I have seen with my son also in the lockdown, and it is something that is more acceptance for the child. So it is very important that the family first accepts the child and be happy with him, enjoy all the moments with him, and then the child can actually look forward to being accepted by others. So the first acceptance is at the family level, and the family, what is the family centric approach is very, very important for the overall development of the child. The positive environment, the overall vibes, or the overall things that you do, the fun, the happy moments, the friendships, everything, every emotion the child is going to learn in the family first. So whatever you are doing with the child, let it be fun, let it be happiness, let him enjoy the movement, and then that learning will definitely be a permanent one, be it physical or be it anything. So that is what I would really want to. So a happy parents, happy child is something, is the bottom line. This is what I totally follow.
Yeah, key to happiness and happy family. Yeah.
Very, very true.
Great. Yeah, on that note, I think we can stop here. And thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for attending this. Bye-bye. Good.
Thank you, Harshali. Thank you, everyone. I think somebody has also asked a PDF for the session.
Yes.
I will forward it. I will forward it in the group. I have a PDF version.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Bye.